You ruined that priceless piece of art! Leo shouted at Joseph, the evil art gallery worker who had just snapped his canvas he brought to be appraised. That's because this is trash. Do not bring junk into my gallery, Joseph yelled. Leo felt the magical needles vibrate in his pocket. He wanted nothing more than to unleash their power and attack Joseph. Leo took a deep breath in and thought, I must remember to only use my powers for good. If I hurt Joseph out of spite for ruining my property, I will not be living up to my ideals. I have to calm myself down. Instead of lunging towards Joseph, Leo continued to take deep breaths, calming himself. As Leo felt himself relax, his magical needles stopped vibrating. He was able to regain control of himself. Pathetic. Get out. Never come back to Benedict Gallery with that fake art ever again, Joseph exclaimed. Unexpectedly, Sophia Cohen stepped towards Joseph. Leave him alone. This was unusual for Sophia, because Leo was sure she hated him. After all, she was part of one of the most powerful and power-hungry families in Seattle. Just moments ago, she was fighting with Leo about how he was the scum of the earth, but now she seemed to be defending him. Sophia turned to Leo. You should leave, she said, with a hint of kindness in her eyes Leo had never seen before. He felt himself blush slightly, but tried to play it off. He picked up his canvas and walked to the door of the gallery. Just before he walked out the door, he turned around. If you ever treat me or anyone else that comes in your gallery like that again, you will regret it, Leo promised Joseph. Joseph just rolled his eyes and turned back to Sophia. So you were saying you'd like to purchase everything we have in the gallery today? Leo walked out before he could hear Sophia's reply. Back on the streets in the art district of Seattle, Leo looked down at the broken canvas in his hands. He thought to himself, I'm so upset. Selling this piece of art was my last chance to make some money so I can support myself and purchase the ingredients to make soup for Audrey so that she can recover from her illness. But now, this canvas is ruined and no one will buy it. No one even believes that it was painted by a famous artist, but I still believe that to be true. Not that it matters anymore, because it's basically trash. Leo sulked down the streets, holding the canvas and trying to think of any other way to possibly earn money. Maybe if I go back to the Blade Men and join them, I could take them up on their offer. It would be wrong to join them, since they are an evil group that inflicts so much pain and anger in this world. Leo shook his head to himself, but I know I can't do that. I would be betraying all my ideals. I'm a healer and I help people. I cannot hurt people on purpose. He sighed. He was at a complete loss. Just then, he heard a voice whisper from the shadows in an alley across from him. Boy, come here, the voice whispered. Startled, Leo almost dropped the canvas. Hello? Who is that? Leo cautiously walked towards the alley where he heard the voice. Suddenly, an old man appeared, dressed in shabby clothes, similar to what Leo was wearing. Let me see that canvas, young man, the old man said as he approached Leo, stepping out of the shadows. Leo noticed that the old man was flanked by two hulking men. It's nothing, just a piece of art, but it was destroyed. Ignoring Leo, the old man continued to walk up to Leo and beckoned for Leo to hand him the broken canvas. Leo reluctantly handed it over. The old man stood staring at the canvas for what seemed like an eternity. Finally, he let out a laugh and looked at Leo. Just as I thought. This is an exquisite piece of art. I'm a collector of this artist's work, and I've been looking for this piece for years. What a miracle, the old man exclaimed. Leo couldn't believe it. At first, he truly didn't believe it. What were the chances that this old man knew what he was talking about? Leo thought, he's probably just a crazy old man. Oh well, I should let him have the canvas anyway. It's basically trash, and it seems to be making him really happy. You can have it for free. I'm glad you like it. Leo smiled at the old man. Nonsense. I won't accept this. It is a truly remarkable piece of art. $1 million feels like a fair price. Oh great, this guy really is nuts, Leo thought to himself. But he smiled and waved goodbye to the old man and began to walk away, assuming the old man had lost his marbles. Suddenly, the two large men that were standing behind the old man ran to Leo to stop him. Feeling nervous, Leo froze. I'm sorry about them. They're just doing their job to protect me. But really, I can't take this for free. Please, accept this. The old man wrote a check and handed it to Leo. Leo's jaw dropped. Sure enough, it was a check for $1 million. You're probably a little confused. I can see it on your face. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mr. Franklin Benedict. I do apologize for my bodyguards, but unfortunately I can't go anywhere without them, even if I'm wearing my disguise. Mr. Benedict winked, gesturing to his very shabby clothing. Leo gasped. Mr. Benedict was one of the richest and most well-known gallery owners in the world. Leo had just been kicked out of his gallery by a rude employee, Joseph Roy. Please, come with me to my gallery. It's just down the street. Mr. Benedict gestured to the gallery that Leo had just walked away from. I don't think that's a very good idea. I was just kicked out of there. Nonsense. It is my gallery, and I will do as I please. Now come, Mr. Benedict demanded as he took Leo by the shoulder and led him back to the gallery. They were trailed by Mr. Benedict's bodyguards. As they approached the gallery, Joseph ran outside. I told you to get lost, you two old man, Joseph spat at Leo and Mr. Benedict. Joseph, is that any way to treat the owner of the gallery? Mr. Benedict asked calmly. The owner of this gallery is a world-famous and very powerful art collector. You are an old man wearing rags. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I have business to attend to, Joseph said, gesturing back to the gallery where Sophia stood. Sophia Cohen, a stuck-up member of one of the richest families in Seattle, had stood by and watched as Leo's painting was defaced by Joseph earlier in the day. She was still standing inside the gallery, looking at Leo with disgust. This is Mr. Benedict, the owner of the gallery, and I can prove it. He bought this painting for me despite the fact that you had defaced it. He bought it from me for $1 million, Leo said proudly. At that, Joseph laughed out loud. Impossible! Leo walked to Joseph and pulled out the check and showed it to Joseph. Wait, this is nonsense. It is a check for $1 million, and it is signed by Mr. Benedict, Joseph whispered, as his face went white as a sheet. Mr. Joseph Roy, your services are no longer needed at this gallery. Please remove him, Mr. Benedict said, as his two bodyguards walked up to Joseph and grabbed him by the shoulders. Please, give me another chance, Joseph begged as he was dragged away. Mr. Benedict smiled at Leo. My apologies for that. I really have to do a better job about staffing this place. Please, won't you have coffee with me? I have a special blend that they make just the way I like it. I can't. I'm sorry. You can't be seen with someone like me. It'll ruin your reputation. I'm a nobody, and you're one of the most prestigious men in Seattle. I appreciate the offer, but I must go, Leo explained, and he took one last look at Mr. Benedict and walked out of the gallery. I've done it. I finally have money. I can get the ingredients to make soup for Audrey so that she will recover from her illness faster. I have more than enough money now. I'll be able to focus on healing those who need it, and I won't have to be lured by money or greed, Leo thought to himself as he walked. Watching from inside the gallery, Sophia's eyes followed Leo as he walked away. Maybe I was wrong about that Leo after all. He now has connections to both the powerful Smith family and to Mr. Benedict himself. He may be the most powerful bachelor in all of Seattle. I have started to hear things about his unmatched healing abilities, which makes him much more significant than I thought before. Did I make a mistake in rejecting him? I wonder if he'll take me back, Sophia wondered as she left the gallery in a hurry.
$1 million.
दोस्तों अभी खरीदिए कोई भी कॉइन।
Leo had never seen that much money in his life. But now, he was looking down at a check made out to him for that amount of money. Leo still couldn't believe it as he walked down the street away from the art gallery. He was also thinking about Sophia, the rich and beautiful daughter of the Cohen family. She had helped him out in the gallery, even after she had been so mean to him. After seeing him sell his painting for a significant amount of money, did she regret canceling their engagement? This is all thanks from the generous art collector, Mr. Franklin Benedict, who had purchased a piece of art from me for $1 million. Now I have more than enough money to buy the ingredients to make soup for Audrey. Leo smiled as he continued walking. Audrey was the kind and beautiful woman who, along with her grandmother, had saved him from the notorious gang, the Blade Men. But now it was Audrey who needed his help, and Leo was happy to do it. He was going to surprise Audrey with her favorite soup, which would help heal her because she had fallen ill, and her illness had a lingering effect that even Leo's magical powers couldn't seem to heal. After a quick stop at a bank to deposit his check and cash a minuscule portion of it, Leo made his way to an organic grocery store. But when Leo entered the grocery store, he was completely dumbfounded. Come to think of it, I don't know if I've ever set foot inside a grocery store, let alone such a fancy one as this, Leo worried to himself. He never had the luxury of buying food and cooking for himself. Because he grew up so poor, he had survived on scraps. I certainly never had to worry about going to grocery stores when I was training on Mount Rainier with my mentor, Leo chuckled. A grocery store worker approached the helpless-looking Leo. Can I find you help anything in particular today? The worker asked. Yes, thank you. I'm going to make a soup for my friend, but honestly, I don't know where to start, Leo admitted. Leo had memorized the ingredients to Audrey's favorite soup, and he listed them to the worker. That's a very strange combination of ingredients. Are you sure you're remembering them correctly? Those things usually don't go together. Maybe you should just buy some pre-made soup? The worker suggested. No, it's her secret family recipe. I have to make it just like this or else my friend will be really upset, Leo insisted. The worker gave him a strange look. Sure thing, kid. Can you tell me what those ingredients are again? I'll help you find them. Leo listed them out again, beginning to get slightly annoyed that this was becoming such an ordeal. As Leo was listing out the ingredients for a second time, a shopper stopped short in his tracks. I'm sorry, but that sounds disgusting, the shopper said. Leo looked at the man. He was a handsome young man. He couldn't be more than a few years older than Leo, and he was wearing a white doctor's coat. I'm sorry, but this is none of your business, Leo said as politely as he could manage. The man smiled back at Leo. I wasn't trying to be rude, just trying to help. You probably know me and you're thinking, this man is a famous doctor. He knows nothing about food, but I do know a ton about cooking. It's my favorite hobby when I'm not working. I'm sorry, but I have no idea who you are, Leo shrugged, wishing that the conversation would be over and that the man would leave him alone. Really? Honestly, that's nice to hear. I've become so well known, it's hard for me to leave my house without getting mobbed. I'm Dr. Hugh, the youngest and most successful surgeon in Seattle. Dr. Hugh smiled, holding out his hand. Leo was surprised that Dr. Hugh was a successful surgeon because he seemed so young. But Leo knew what it was like to be underestimated. No one expected Leo to possess any kind of talent or healing powers. You really don't know who I am? I was just profiled in Seattle Monthly, Dr. Hugh explained as he pulled up the magazine out of his pocket to show Leo. As Dr. Hugh was speaking, a few women who were shopping in the store overheard the conversation and squealed with excitement. They approached Dr. Hugh and one of them stepped forward. Hi! I'm such a huge fan. Can I take a selfie? Of course, I always love to meet a fan, Dr. Hughes said as the woman took a selfie with him. I'm just on my lunch break. Once a week I work at the clinic across the street, for my image. Dr. Hugh gave Leo a conspiratorial look, but Leo just looked at him blankly. Well, it was nice to meet you, but I really need to get this stuff. I'm kind of in a rush. Leo hurried away with the ingredients he had gathered. Just then, a scream pierced through the grocery store. Somebody help! Please, is there a doctor? An old man screamed. Dr. Hugh dropped a smile, and he and Leo rushed towards the source of the yelling. In one of the aisles, Leo and Dr. Hugh found an old man crouched over a young boy. It's my grandson! Please! I don't know what happened. He was fine, and then all of a sudden he started convulsing and just passed out. The old man's eyes were beginning to tear up. Stand back, Dr. Hugh proclaimed as he kneeled down next to the child. Leo couldn't help but notice the way Dr. Hugh was dealing with the child. It seemed unconfident and inexperienced, not like a well-respected surgeon. Leo thought to himself, the way Dr. Hugh is acting is very strange, not like a seasoned doctor at all. He shouldn't be moving the child that much. He might be causing him more harm than good. I'd really like to use my healing powers to help this child, but I don't know if Dr. Hugh's ego will allow me to help. Leo continued to look on with worry. Also, I'm still feeling a little weak from when I last used my powers. Every time I heal someone, I inevitably hurt myself. I should save my energy as much as possible. Dr. Hugh's face turned white as he confirmed the boy's pulse. His pulse is much, much slower than I'd like. But don't worry, because you're in luck. I'm Dr. Hugh and I work at the clinic across the street, and we can just bring him in there and have him looked at, Dr. Hugh said calmly. I can't afford it. He was supposed to go to the doctor's for a checkup, but we had to miss it because it was too expensive, even at the clinic, the old man said shamefully. Leo couldn't stand by in silence anymore. He knew what it was like to be poor, and more importantly, he knew that it was his duty to help those in need. Let me take a look at the child. Leo stepped forward. Although not actively healing the child, he could feel the child's energy draining. As Leo began to worry, he felt his magical needles vibrate with his emotion in his pocket, demanding to be used. Dr. Hugh looked up at Leo and laughed. Please, you can't even make a soup. You're not a doctor. Leave me alone. Dr. Hugh dug through his pockets and pulled out a large needle. Leo was shocked. This man knows of magic needles too. Maybe I did underestimate him because of his age, not to mention his ego. This boy's having an allergic reaction. I'm going to use this needle, which is filled with adrenaline. When I inject him with it, he will be cured, Dr. Hugh proclaimed. That's so strange. I'm his grandfather, and this boy has never had an allergic reaction to anything in his life, the old man said. Are you questioning me? Do you not want your son to be saved? Dr. Hugh demanded. The old man stood back in shock. No! Please help my grandson however you can. Thank you, doctor. Leo was startled. The draining energy he felt from the child was not caused by an allergic reaction. It seemed more to Leo like the boy had a heart condition. Stop! If you do that, it'll only make it worse. You could kill him. The adrenaline might cause him to be better for a moment, but after that he will collapse again. Please stop, Leo pleaded. The old man looked between Dr. Hugh and Leo, terrified. I don't want my grandson to die, he cried. Dr. Hugh shot Leo a dirty look. Do not listen to that boy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm a doctor, and a very good one at that. Do you want me to save your grandson? Please, yes. Do anything you can to save him, the old man shouted. Stop, Leo shouted, but it was too late. Dr. Hugh stuck the young boy with the needle. He was completely silent. Suddenly, the boy sprang up. Grandpa! He shouted, running to his grandfather. The old man had tears in his eyes as he hugged his grandson. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, the old man shouted. Dr. Hugh nodded. It was not a problem at all. Thank goodness there was a real doctor here. He stared at Leo with daggers in his eyes. I stand by what I said. I guess you got lucky this time, Leo said as he turned to leave. Leo gathered the ingredients for the soup, paid, and headed out of the grocery store. Just as Leo exited onto the street, he heard a commotion behind him. Dr. Hugh burst out of the grocery store with the young boy in his arms. "Help! It didn't work! He's unconscious!" Dr. Hugh shouted. "This boy is unconscious! Leo Jones, we need you!" Dr. Hugh shouted as he was trailed by the boy's grandfather. Leo stopped in his tracks and looked at Dr. Hugh holding the boy. Leo didn't like Dr. Hugh. He was the young and cocky surgeon who had ignored Leo's offers to help in the grocery store. Leo had been in the grocery store to buy ingredients to make soup for his sick friend Audrey, the kind woman who had rescued him the day earlier. I must put my grudges aside. After all, I'm used to people underestimating me because they don't think I have powers because of how small I look. No one expects me to possess the powers of magical needles, Leo thought. I'm ruined. My reputation is destroyed. I'm going to lose my job and be kicked out of the hospital. They'll revoke my title as Mr. Seattle, Dr. Hugh shouted. Leo couldn't believe what he was hearing. We're talking about a boy's life. This is more important than your career. You're right. Please, you have to help me. I was going to bring him to the clinic, but it's too late. I don't know what to do. I can't lose my job. Dr. Hugh begged. We don't have time for the clinic. Set the boy down here. Put your jacket down so he can lay on it, Leo commanded. Although they were just across the street from where the clinic where Dr. Hugh worked occasionally, Dr. Hugh did as he was told and took off his doctor's jacket for the boy to lay on. Leo dropped his bag of groceries and held his hands above the boy. He was immediately relieved to feel a very faint energy from the child. I can help him, Leo exclaimed. Dr. Hugh shouted in relief. How do you know? Are you sure? My methods didn't work. The old man, who was the grandfather of the boy, looked slightly relieved and asked, Is he going to be okay? I'm going to do the best I can, but please give me some space, Leo commanded as Dr. Hugh and the old man backed away. Maybe we should just take him to the clinic. I don't want some boy treating my grandson. Are you even a doctor? The old man questioned. I understand why you're worried, but you have to trust me. I'm going to do the best I can do to save your grandson. I'm a healer, and I believe I can heal this boy, Leo calmly exclaimed. Leo took a deep breath and focused. He felt the healing energy in his body. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the leather case that contained his magical needles. He opened the case and the needles flew out of it and hovered above the boy. What the heck? How is he doing that? This must be some kind of trickery, Dr. Hugh thought to himself. Leo concentrated all of his energy on the needles, which were hovering above the boy. He thought to himself, what would my mentor do if he were here now? I have never experienced a case this bad. This boy is in very critical condition, and any mistake I make will have great consequences. Leo took a deep breath. I cannot worry myself and get in my head. I must trust myself and in my training. I know I can do it. As Leo calmed down, the needles flew into the Big Dipper formation, which he had used only days before to cure Kristen Smith's grandfather. Dr. Hugh and the grandfather's mouths dropped open. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. This is highly unusual. What kind of healing medicine is this kid practicing? Dr. Hugh murmured. The old man shook his head and wrung his hands. I don't know what I will do if I lose him. I love my grandson. The needles dug into the boy's skin. Leo waited. Nothing happened. If this goes south, it is your fault, Dr. Hugh whispered to Leo. Leo ignored Dr. Hugh. He felt the healing power leave his body and infuse the needles. The needles, full of the power, glowed and vibrated. This is taking so much more energy than I thought. I don't know how much longer I can do this, Leo worried as he felt increasingly faint. After what seemed like an eternity, the needles flew back into Leo's case, and he put them in his pocket. Slowly, Leo got up. He swayed slightly, and he knelt back down to grab his bag of groceries. I feel so faint and drained after that. I need to rest, Leo thought to himself as he slowly walked away. You didn't cure him! Get out of here! Grandfather yelled as he ran to his grandson. What do you think you're doing? You can't leave the boy like that. This is not my fault, you know, Dr. Hugh shouted after Leo. Leo continued to walk away with the bag of groceries in his hand. Suddenly, he heard a little boy's voice. "Grandpa!" The little boy shouted. "My grandson! I can't believe it! We were so afraid of losing you forever!" The old man shouted as he hugged the boy. "I don't believe it. It seems as if he's perfectly healed. How is it that this young man was able to outperform me, one of the best surgeons in all of Seattle?" Dr. Hugh marveled. "Please wait!" the old man yelled. Leo turned around, and the old man was carrying the boy and walking up to him. "I'm so sorry. I was scared and I acted irrationally. I spoke out of hatred and fear. I owe you everything. You saved my grandson's life. I can never repay you," the old man said. "Thanks, mister. I feel awesome," the young boy, full of energy, shouted. Leo smiled and shook his head. "I understand. It's okay. I'm just glad I was able to help. I am a healer, and it is my duty to help those in need." So he is a healer. I've never seen or heard of this man before, but he has such great power, Dr. Hugh thought to himself. The old man set his grandson down, who continued to happily run and skip, as if nothing had happened to him. Searching through his pockets, the old man pulled out a couple of coins and a few dollars. "I'm so ashamed, but this is all I have in terms of payment. I promise to pay you more, but right now this is all I can afford." The old man bowed his head in shame as he held out his hands to Leo. Leo shook his head and lowered the old man's hands. "There is no need. Like I said, I am a healer. This is my purpose, and my payment is seeing that your grandson is happy and healthy." The old man picked his grandson up and sat him on his shoulders. They waved goodbye to Leo and Dr. Hugh and went on their way. Leo turned to Dr. Hugh. "As for you, you must promise me that you will not let your ego get in the way of helping someone. I think you are a good doctor and surgeon, but I can see that your own self-importance gets the better of you." Dr. Hugh turned red and was just about to shout at Leo out of anger, but paused. "I hate to admit this, but you're right. I've let fame go to my head, and I've lost sight of what really matters, helping people. Thank you for allowing me to see that again. Please, come into the clinic and have a cup of coffee. It's the least I can do," Dr. Hugh offered. "Thank you, but I have somewhere to be," Leo explained, holding up the bag of groceries. "Do you even know how to cook that?" Dr. Hugh asked quizzically. I thought I could just figure it out," Leo shrugged. Dr. Hugh took the bag of groceries from Leo. "We actually have a pretty good employee kitchen in the clinic. Let me make the soup for you, then you can give it to your friend. It's the least I can do." Leo nodded reluctantly and followed Dr. Hugh inside the clinic. A few hours later, Leo and Dr. Hugh re-emerged from the clinic. Leo was holding a bag with a container full of Audrey's special soup. "Now it is I who must thank you. If I had to make that soup myself, it really would have turned out to be inedible." "Thanks, Dr. Hugh," Leo smiled. "You're welcome here any time. Please come back, Leo," Hugh responded. Just as Leo was about to walk away, a giant black SUV pulled up to the front of the clinic. The door swung open. "Stop! Leo Jones, don't go anywhere," the mysterious voice demanded. Leo froze in his tracks.